Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no. Dying don't agree with me, no. All you board ghosts, come with me, we're going home.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experiences. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is a continuation of our game of Fiasco, the playset Little Town, Dark Woods. To find out how Fiasco is played and how we generated our story, you can listen to our primer episode. We're going to introduce our players and their characters right now.
I am playing Dr. Elena Borracho, general practitioner, psychiatrist, kind of undefined medical person in the small town of Linsdale, Ohio. And in the first act, we sort of got the hint that she's up to something much darker than just helping people out in a small town. But
right.
we're not really clear what yet.
And what's your name?
My name's Tim Rodriguez.
Between Dr. Elena and my character, Doug Witters, there is a relationship of secret, a vessel possessed by dark forces, and a need to hide your intentions to kill again. And Doug is sort of the town drunk. He's a high school dropout, has just been a townie, does odd jobs here and there. And from the first act, we've learned that he has maybe some perception, so some sort of perception of weirdness, and that manifested itself when he actually unintentionally saved his fellow high school students from a collapsing cabin in the woods called The Spot. And what followed was this dark, scary moment. And from that point on, he's been living in a sort of haze of lost time and being continually drawn back into the woods. And he had an interaction with Dr. Elena Borracho. I've gotten it.
You got
I'm
it.
getting there.
You got it.
Whereby a god was invoked. Is it Vashnu? No.
Vashtu.
Vashtu.
All right.
We're not really sure what Vashtu
We're not
is.
really sure what
Yeah.
Vashtu
So
is.
the name Vashtu was invoked and sent him fleeing. And from that point, he was drawn back into the woods, where he ran into...
My character, I'm Ken Breeze. I'm playing sheriff, or I guess he's just the sheriff at this point. Deputy sheriff. Deputy sheriff. We don't know who the sheriff is, but I'm the deputy sheriff. Deputy sheriff.
You haven't been promoted yet.
Not yet. Not yet. There is no sheriff. There is no sheriff.
It's just
I'm
you.
just the deputy. Exactly. Deputy Sheriff Ethan Yardley. Ethan Yardley is one of the people who was in the woods with Doug Witters when they were high schoolers. That's sort of where their relationship began, is being sort of lost in the woods together. This location of this cabin in the woods is very important for them. Deputy Sheriff Ethan Yardley is he's taken a very protective stance for the town and its people. He goes out of his way to do sort of good deeds. Was a troublemaker in his youth, was thought to be a ne'er-do-well who would maybe turn into some sort of criminal or do something maybe like how Doug's life has sort of gone, a sort of dropout burnout. But instead, he really turned himself around and became a law enforcement officer. He has some really deep-seated fears and guilt about that night in the woods where he left his friends on their own, specifically the friend that he was very close with in school. They were rebels together, who is the character you'll hear about next.
I'm Tiffany Cook, and I'm playing Grey Dawn. And Grey Dawn, as Ken mentioned regarding his character Ethan, was a rebel in high school. They were part of this garage band together, and this night in the woods left her a completely different person. She is now agoraphobic and lives at home and is currently surrounding herself with this letter V that is written on the walls and on the floors and on pieces of paper. And she sees Dr. Elena Borracho regularly for psychiatric help. However, she also has a deep fear of leaving her house, to the point that she has a difficult time even getting beyond her front yard. And Elena has continuously pushed her to leave the house and go into the woods. And that in particular has left her kind of just inside of herself, back in the house. And most recently, we left off with her asking Ethan to come over, and she passes out.
Since the previous act, we've added the tilt. Innocence, love rears its ugly head, and failure, a tiny mistake leads to ruin.
Before I kind of set the scene, I want to ask where Gray is in terms of how she feels about Elena. Is there still?
So I think that Elena at this point for Gray is, she's distrustful of everybody. And so I think Elena still fits into that bucket. She is very fearful of the woods and is like really weirded out by the fact that Elena was really pushing her around the woods most recently. But I don't think that she really like connects the dots yet with that relationship at all to that night in the woods. I think she's just still like kind of assuming
it's just
that
sort of an overall scared
yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
I think she's just kind of like, okay, I get why Elena would ask me to go in the woods, but I'm never going in the woods again.
And I want to ask about Doug's sort of feelings about like Elena and like what after their last meeting, kind of like where that left him, if he remembers that.
Yeah, I think that consciously he's somewhat ambivalent. So he's actually kind of like he's a nervous guy because he's missing time, but is also somewhat like he's like a puppy, a little bit like a kicked puppy, where he has trouble like vocalizing that he doesn't want to be near her, and subconsciously is aware that like there's something off, that there's something that's there is pushing him away from her.
Okay.
And so he's at this point where he has to get drunk if he's going to approach you directly.
Okay. Interesting.
I didn't pick that up before. That's cool. That's a great.
Got it. Yeah, no,
that's
that
cool.
makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. The scene I want to set is actually with the three of us.
Yes.
I want Doug to enter kind of partway through this scene, and I think you'll kind of pick up where I'm going with this. We're getting into it. And
Where are we?
Yeah, where are you?
so
and
we're
when are
we're
we?
going
Yeah.
to be in my office. Gray has her regular appointment today. When I last spoke to you on the phone in between sessions, I said, I understand the last session was scary and it made you very uncomfortable, and I want us to take a step back from that. So we're not going to be dealing with anything with regards to the woods at the next session. Okay. I just want to make that clear ahead of time for you so that you feel safe coming back to me, because I want you to feel safe coming to me, opening up to me and allowing me to help you. Okay?
Okay.
So it's time for your regular session. And you show up, sit down, and the first thing I ask about is your sex life.
What do you mean my sex life?
I want to understand where you are as a person, as a woman. I know that some of these things might be difficult at this point with regards to going out. But, if there are previous times, if there's anything current, talk to me.
Well, it's been very rocky. I've had past sexual encounters with different people, mostly in high school, and a couple of recent encounters too.
Okay.
But the times that I've had, I don't really like to talk about it because it's just too, I don't know, it's just too much, and I don't go out. I'd never go out anymore, and if it's happening at my house.
At your house? Did you? I understand that you know Sheriff Yardley.
Yes.
You were close with him when you were younger?
Yes.
Very close, or just friends, or?
I mean, we got drunk one night and hooked up, if that's what you're asking. But I mean, we were friends.
Okay. So I have invited somebody else here.
Why would you invite somebody else to our session?
I'm interested in trying a different sort of thing.
But who is this person?
I'm not asking you to talk to him. I want you to understand that. This is what we share and what we talk about is between us, and we're not opening that to somebody else.
Okay.
But this is a person who also has a different kind of trouble than you, and if you choose to share something with them, with him, you should feel free to. And I've talked to him and sort of let him know kind of the same kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So there's a knocking shortly thereafter.
Come in.
So I come in with a tool box and a pipe wrench. Dr. Baracha, you wanted me to fix a leak?
Mr. Witters, I'm afraid that perhaps you have remembered that wrong. I did ask you here.
But I was just.
It's okay.
And I see Gray across the way.
And I'm cowering in the corner, just trying to make myself as small as possible.
You can go ahead and set your things down.
I put the toolbox down, I sit, but I have the pipe wrench clenched in my fist.
And Gray's fiddling with her fingers and is starting to tap her foot very progressively faster and faster as she's pressing her palms together and is beginning to be visibly very, very anxious and is rocking slightly in her chair.
So what I've called you both here for is something a little bit special. I know you both have a lot of issues in sort of everyday space, and I want to give you the opportunity to release some of those issues.
What do you mean release?
Well, I think that you're a very attractive young woman, and Douglas here is an attractive young man, and I think that within the bounds of this private medical establishment, there's a certain kind of safe space that can be made.
I think this goes positively for Dr. Elena Baracho.
Interesting.
So I'm going to get up and close the door. You'll have privacy for 90 minutes. There will be a timer here. And, I'll come back and check on you. And I hope that you two can both find the strength to help yourselves. So I think that this will go well for all of us.
I put the pipe wrench down.
I kind of tap you on the shoulder, Doug, and wordlessly step out of the room and close the door. And I think that's seen.
I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, okay.
So the door closes, and Doug actually very quickly gets up into your face, leaning over you, the Gray.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to go now.
Okay, can I trust you?
More than you can trust her. We need to go.
Okay, let's go. And I grab your hand, and I completely relinquish everything to him.
We head out the other door of the office and out the back and into the woods.
As we begin to approach the woods, Gray begins to just visibly shake and violently as she's pulled forward, but she keeps walking and moving, knowing that the only other alternative is for her to head back towards Elena.
We need to go forward. And you see a blankness on Doug's face, and he's talking. He's not talking to you anymore. He's saying, we have to get back there. Both of us need to be there.
Be where?
We have to go there. Yes, of course, we'll go there. And we're very close to the edge of the woods. And I think that's the call point.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, we think it goes positively for Doug Witters.
Mm-hmm.
So you pull back and resist a little bit more, and the blankness leaves him, and Doug turns back to you and is his sort of quiet, nervous self again.
Mm-hmm.
Gray, you need to come with me. We've got to close this.
Okay. And she kind of leans forward, and it's this huge and heavy burden as she finally makes that first step back into the woods.
And Doug turns back to the woods, and with he's tired and no longer pulling. They walk side by side, like step into the woods across the threshold into the trees.
A few hours later, at Dr. Elena Borracho's office, home office, is it her /home/office? Or
I think there's probably a separate office.
Separate office.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think
So we're
there's
at
a
the separate office space. Gotten a few calls about these two people disappearing, and I feel like Dr. Elena has also called me about these people disappearing. So I'm here, sort of like speaking with you about what happened.
Okay.
And trying to, just understand what happened. What would you have said to me, I guess, about what had happened?
Oh man.
You get the sense that I'm trying to enlist you as an ally.
No.
To try and help these two people that I do care about.
No,
and you had a pretty
intense
scene with
Gray
before.
Exactly.
And
I
so
took
part
Gray
of it's
to
a
I took
little
Gray
bit-
to the emergency room, and so she has some medical tag probably on her wrist, but she's been released for a few days. It's been a few days afterwards.
into Dr. Borracho's care.
Yes.
Under supervision.
Supervision,
for
yes.
what that's worth.
Yeah.
I think I'm supportive. Your copdar would kind of pick up something a little bit off.
Right.
But like I'm working some sort of something.
Right. It is odd to me. Maybe we should just go into the scene.
Let's go into the scene.
All right. Okay, sweet. So we're just in the lobby then of your office, and we're talking. So they both left on foot together, and they were here for a shared session. I guess I'm not understanding. You think that their problems are connected?
I think that they have certain kinds of compatibility with their problem, and if we
I mean, you can can the mumbo jumbo, Doc. I don't really care about that. I care about my two missing people. So if you have an idea about where they might be,
honestly,
we could maybe go together to find them.
If my guess is correct, they've gone to the woods. This is perhaps not exactly what I expected to happen, but it's actually within the same space, the same kind of healing space where they're connecting and they're creating a certain kind of bond.
Ethan sort of rolls his eyes at the mention of like healing space and like connecting bonds, and he's like, okay, they're missing as far as I can tell. No one's been able to see them. Gray isn't at her home. I checked. No one's seen Doug. So
neither of them drive, to my understanding.
That's right. They
don't. Can't have gone that far.
Well,
they're probably in the woods. And I have a suspicion that they are facing certain kinds of fears, and that I think that they're in a good space.
Okay, well,
I mean, I understand your concerns. Like,
I'd
promise
rather,
I do.
especially considering the history of these two individuals, I'd much rather that they are supervised.
Their history, though, is alone, and Gray doesn't go into the woods, much less out of her house.
Yeah, I mean, I know all about it, Doc. Gray and Doug stopped going to the woods around the same time. Something bad happened.
But Doug keeps going to the woods.
Yeah, Doug's a drunk amnesiac. So how can you explain his behavior?
If you take an extreme of one side and an extreme of the other side, and you put something together, much like an acid and a base, you end up with something a little bit more neutral. I think that this will help normalize both of them.
I think that will help. That's quite the gamble to take. It could. Who knows what could happen to them in there? We need to find.
Are the woods that dangerous, Sheriff?
They can be.
Woods, of course, they can be. Are they? That's what I asked. Is there something else out there that is such a problem that two adults should otherwise not be able to handle? Barring, falls into a ravine or animal attacks, there is no history that I am aware of animal attacks, of anything. There's no hunting in these woods. I understand your concern.
Woods aren't good for anyone, but these people are out there and they need to be found.
Missing person is 24 hours, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
Are these your personal feelings coming into this, Sheriff?
I don't see why I got to answer that.
You don't have to. But
I'm worried about these folks.
I understand
they have
that
a history. This is not good for them to just go disappearing like this.
But this is initiative that Gray has not taken before, and this is coherence that I'm not sure that Mr. Witters has taken before.
Gray has taken initiative in the past few days. We both know that. She called me, and I went over there. Something's going on with her. And putting her together with Doug, I don't understand why you did it. I might not agree with it, but it's happened, and now I got to deal with it. And I want you to deal with it with me. And I'd like to know how the scene maybe goes at this point.
Go for it.
I put my let me answer.
Yeah.
I put my hand on Ethan's arm
Oh, okay.
and I say, "We'll do this together. We'll get this worked out." And I give you kind of a creepy, weird look.
I say, well, they obviously trust you, so I think you'll be a help here. Come on, we'll get in my cab, and I might have an idea about where they are.
Sounds great.
And we leave to get in the cab.
Yeah, and a call comes on the police radio for
Yeah.
like a minor disturbance, and you just turn the radio off.
Yep, click.
Okay, I want you all to set the scene.
Okay, we're setting the scene for Gray. Do we want to do sequential scene? Do we want to do a flashback or a flash forward?
We're getting to the last round of scenes.
Yeah,
we
we're getting.
We could flash back to where we left off before, where like the shadow's descending and she's like losing it.
We could discover a little bit more about what that actually was.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then that's collaboratively building
Yeah.
effect.
Who is in the scene with Gray then? Because then she's just by herself with some shadows.
I think that we might play shadows.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a dark force, and
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and
We'll
then
figure that
I have
out.
an idea
We'll-
based on where things whether
I
it goes well or
I have
not.
a handful of ideas.
All
Yeah,
right.
We'll,
All right.
we'll figure this out.
Okay,
but,
cool.
But Gray gets to decide.
Where we left, this is a flashback. So you're
Flashback
walking through the woods,
to Gray's
and you're
as a teenager.
You're getting glimpses, like you haven't been in these woods since that incident, and it's
yeah.
the memories again. The cloud analogy is still there for you.
And it's just starting to
They're starting to
pull
come up.
and-
They're starting to
Yeah.
like surface light is starting to come
You're
out.
starting to get some answers maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
Then you're just back in it.
Yep. Okay. So as we're like kind of trudging forward into this space, my like mind just kind of starts. I kind of get that like tunnel vision. Like slowly everything starts caving in, and all I can see again is this like almost viscerally encompassing darkness that just consumes my entire being and my consciousness.
Yeah, the feeling on your skin is like a multitude of like slugs that are just sort of like
It's
oozing.
cold.
It's clammy and
It's
cold.
clammy.
They're all over your skin.
It's like you don't feel clothes in between.
Right.
Like, it doesn't. It's,
Right. There's no barrier.
You sunk through yourself into a bog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, there's a whispering around you of that name.
Help me.
You're cold. I can help.
Who are you?
You can hear my name.
Who are you?
I am lost. My spirit cannot find purchase in this world yet.
What do you want?
I just want to live.
Why do you need me?
You can help. I sense it.
How?
You're special.
Special.
What is special about me?
What isn't special about you? Your name speaks light. Your name speaks the middle ground. Names are powerful. My name, very few remember at this point. I have no more power. My spirit cannot find purchase in this world. I need your help.
What do I do? Why would I help you?
Please.
Okay, just help me.
So now, Where do you
How
want it
does,
to
how
land?
does this go for Gray? You choose. Does it go well or poorly for Gray?
I mean, I think we know it went poorly
Went
for
poorly
her.
for
Wow.
her.
So she completely surrenders and just allows this darkness to encompass her being in every way, shape, or form. But something kind of goes awry with this embodiment. And I think that this is going to play out a little bit more here with the whispers. So as she sinks into it and she just accepts it and she says, okay, tell me what to do. And as she's kind of just sunk into this, something is off. As she surrenders, something is off and paranoia takes over and she just completely is overwhelmed by this anxiety and just, no, stop. And she panics and she gets up and begins to run, screaming from the woods.
This scene is Elena and Ethan. We've pulled up in the cab just outside the spot.
Okay. That's the best sentence ever. And then we all know what that
We're
means.
driving up.
Yeah.
Make out point.
No, that's what I mean. It's like we pull up in the cab at the spot.
Pull up in the cab
I
at the
mean,
spot.
clearly.
What is this place?
It's where teenagers go to get drunk and make out, party, get away from from their adult parents.
And this is where you drive us up to?
Well,
Goodness, Sheriff.
this place has a lot of history here. It's something that all the locals know about. And many years ago when we were in high school, it's just something, we had an odd night here.
What kind of odd night?
Well, Doug tried to crash our party, and we just sort of were razzing him, and then you can see the damage to the cabin. It just sort of happened. It sort of collapsed. I think a tree branch fell on it or something. It just gave us all a real big fright, and it just there's just something wrong about these woods. And
so he saved you? Like, I guess you weren't in the...
He did. When I think back on it now, if we would have been inside when the ceiling came down, it could have been a real grisly scene. Yeah, it could have been a real grisly scene.
Get it.
And Gray was there that night. She'd never been the same after that night. Some people said that, she was lost in the woods for like 5 days and just sort of went crazy.
Oh, man.
And I'm surprised that this isn't things that you have read in their dossiers or at least heard from them. Yeah, it was a tough night.
So scary.
It was, but it taught me that
You became a braver man for it.
protecting the town and protecting its citizens is what I'm about, and
That's really important.
it is. I'm glad you. Thank you. It is. So speaking about that, let's go protect some citizens. He sort of opens up the door, kicks it open, gets out of his sort of white Jeep pickup truck, starts to head towards the cabin to go in. Pushes the door open, clicks on his mag light, says, "It should be all right, but if you don't want to come in, you don't have to, Doc."
I come push right in behind you.
And
Up close.
we're sort of sweeping the mag light around the spot, a place that he hasn't been in many, many, many years. And he just sort of gets the chills and the willies and is just sort of frozen there for a second as he's just sort of looking around at this place.
Elena takes his hand, his free hand, and says, "It's okay."
Yeah, and he sort of shakes her off. I know. I got it. Thanks.
Ethan, you don't have to be brave all the time.
About to put his hand on his gun, and she says that, and he says, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do." And looking around the room, it seems derelict and still beat up. A bunch of graffiti all over it, spray cans and spray paint sort of around on the floors. But it's obvious that back end of the house or the cabin has collapsed more and is a little bit more decrepit, ruined, and left on its own. And so that's where he starts to head, to sort of get down on his hands and knees and start to crawl into this more broken up space, looking for anything with his light.
I don't suppose Gray and Doug are down there.
You never know.
What are you looking for, Ethan?
Answers. I'm looking for my friends. What are you looking for, Doc? And he sort of shines a light up in her face.
I'm looking to help somebody out, too. And she unbuttons the top button of her shirt.
Of her shirt? Okay. Ethan sort of steps back. Are you trying to help yourself out?
What do you think?
I think you blindsided me, that's for sure. And this is not where I thought I was going to end up today.
You drove me out here. I think that there are some aspects of your subconscious that want something, and my conscious that wants something. And if you decide that your conscious wants that thing too, I'll just say it's okay.
So the scene goes positively for Elena Borracho, our companions have decided.
That's...
Because normally Ethan would not do anything.
So,
he's looking for, I think,
pretty vulnerable.
Someone that he loves. I think he's looking for Gray, that he is in love with Gray.
Yeah,
and the innocence
I think so too.
Is rearing its head,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I think that what is happening is that Elena is getting what she wants one way or the other. And if these two are going to run off and not help,
right,
she's going to make it happen and take matters into her own hands.
And so I feel like as the button is undone and as another one is undone, we either see a necklace or some sort of tattoo that's on her chest.
I think there's a tattoo.
A tattoo,
yeah.
that begins to very softly glow. And it's with that Ethan cannot help himself and begins to basically take her in his arms.
We
and
dip to black.
Yeah. And we dip to black, I guess.
Yeah. And the music goes into sort of a building, sort of not quite like the Jaws theme, but it's foreboding hard. Yeah.
Cut to the woods simultaneous, and Doug and Gray are still kind of stumbling forward through the woods, and Gray's lost in her head a little bit with her flashbacks, and Doug, this bond is keeping him more lucid, but a similar experience of sort of the clouds parting and him sort of falling into this memory, and he wakes up with a gasp at night on the ground by the spot. He's a high schooler again. This is moments after everyone has fled, and there's a shadow that comes into him, and he stands up and is pointed this thing is pushing him out into the woods to find Gray. And he knows that there's another out there, and he's sort of parallel. He's having this memory and seeing the intention, and he knows that this other shadow has Gus. And so the two of them are converging on Gray, who hasn't accepted the gift, and they're working their way towards her. And I guess we could either have a discussion with him in the shadow.
So you want to do? You want to do him in the shadows?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, as they're stalking towards, this is internal dialogue with him in the shadow in the head, in his own head.
And
as a
is this
flashback.
the same shadow that attacked Gray?
Yeah,
or
same
attacked.
Okay, fair enough. The same shadow who interacted with Gray.
Yeah.
Interacted, yes.
Help me.
Help. You're in me.
I'm trying.
All right, we'll get her. We'll kill her. Is that what you want?
I want your help.
No. Okay.
Wittershins. Your name is Magic.
He fights and pushes this as the shadow almost creates a path of light. He knows where he needs to go. He's being pushed forward. I can't.
My spirit must find purchase in this world. I just want to live.
Okay, no. Yes, okay, no. and we're continuing to approach. Gray is like stumbling through. We can now like see her. We know like she's like a light in this blackness, and I can feel like a darker blackness that is the rest of what's in me
Do you
approaching
see
her
the
from the side.
dawn?
We've got to.
The dawn.
Yes.
Use your magic on the dawn. Help me live.
Doug feels like a similar glowing in himself. He looks down and sees the same light that's illuminating in Dawn that allows him to notice her is in himself, and he, from the beckoning, like reaches in for that light. And he also sees that shadow that is an extension of him, but also Gus approaching.
Not the light, the shadow, the darkness, the magic.
Vashtu.
All right. So one hand, he's almost put his two hands are at
Help
odds.
me.
Not the light.
Not.
He whacks his own hand away and hurls that light out at the Gus figure, which sends it spinning end over end and smashing against a tree where there's a loud crack and snap. And Dawn heads off away, hears that sound and runs off in the other direction. And Gus shakes himself, and the darkness falls away from him. And he stumbles forward and sees Gus dead in the woods. And runs off the opposite direction from Grey Dawn.
All right. Okay.
Well, you couldn't see that, but we quietly gave Doug a positive result die,
right.
meaning that
right.
he has some more inner strength than maybe we even knew.
I'm glad that you tied up the Gus loose end.
Yeah, me too.
Good
That's
riddance to Gus.
awesome. Poor Gus.
I'm gonna pick it up sequentially. I think this is the way I'm gonna do it. Ethan wakes up after having fallen asleep after making love with Dr. Baracho on the floor of the cabin.
It was sort of like that.
Okay.
Sort of like that.
Sure.
I don't think it was quite that nice.
All right. Well, I won't get into the description of how
No.
not nice it may have been. That being said,
And the
Elena
boombox, while you were going, the music we heard was the boombox
Coming back to life?
Yeah.
yeah, the
Oh,
boombox.
God,
came-
that's creepy.
Yeah, the boombox came back on.
And as we come back up from the scene,
20 years later.
it shuts off again.
Yeah, and I wake up. Elena is not there, but I find her by following some dim light. And I follow that dim light to the back of the cabin, where it seems she's pushed away some debris and found a hatch that goes underneath it.
Yeah, found.
Yeah,
Found.
opened a hatch that
Yeah.
goes underneath. And seeing the stone stairs weathered that lead below, I follow them. I've just sort of shrugged on my unbuttoned sheriff
Yeah, you still have
shirt.
your like undershirt on.
No, my A-frame T-shirt came off.
Sleeveless tank top.
Came off. Yeah, that works
Yeah.
too.
Sleeveless tank top.
No. I like the bare-chested look where
the
he
shirt
just
on
has
it?
put the shirt
Right.
on. It's unbuttoned,
Nice.
and he sort of is like pulling on his pants. He has no underwear or
Gets his
socks
hat
on.
back on.
I'm going to say he leaves the hat behind, but good. That's not bad. He doesn't have his utility belt on though. He leaves that sort of behind. With bare feet, follows this dim light into what appears to be a natural sort of, or unnatural, I guess, a basement below made out of stone. Hearing Dr. Baracho's soft voice, he follows it as well, down sort of a spiral staircase that leads just maybe a story into the ground, and coming into a small chamber that has a ton of different depictions of V's here. It looks with different sorts of either paint or other materials, blood perhaps, feces, who knows what, has been used to mark this chamber up. Dr. Elena is there. She is wearing some form-fitting robes. She's lit some candles around and has something in her hand that she is using as she is softly speaking the name of Vashtu in the language that the shadows speak. Ethan comes down and sees this, says, "What's going on here? What is this?"
You're just in time. I need your help.
I don't, what are you talking about? What kind of help? I don't, Elena, what the hell is going on here?
She reaches out her hand to you, and you kind of notice in her offhand she is holding a long knife.
Ethan puts his hands up in a warding gesture saying, I'm not helping you at all, lady. I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but this is not what I signed up for.
You already have. This is a formality if you won't help. It doesn't matter, but I would like your help here.
You're not getting any more of my goddamn help. He starts to turn around and run back up the stairs.
I think...
How does it go for Ethan?
I think it's going to go bad.
I think so too. I think it's going to go
Okay.
really badly.
Okay, so it goes poorly for John. Poorly for
that'd be
Ethan
weird
John
for it to-
Yardley.
So what happens is that I think as he turns...
I think he goes up the stairs, but the stairs don't seem to end.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking as well, is that he's sort of trapped. And so as he turns to go...
And when he turns around, it's like he hasn't gone anywhere, and he can just still see what's happening and the horrific outcome of the ritual. Shadows are, rising from the floor and swirling around the sort of circle of candles that Elena has made. And he's watching her, like her flesh slowly gets like stripped
Okay.
away.
Claws off.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
gross, it's not gory, but
No,
it's like
it's-
it's
yeah.
just like peeling
off. Yeah.
off to reveal sort of like a dark, more of a shadow form underneath. Intriguing sort of mystical hand motions. And
I feel like scales are a part of this.
oh
form
yeah,
as
scales.
well.
I like scales.
Yeah.
But like skin peels
Yeah.
off, and
Yeah.
this is a slow kind of like long drawn out process. But like you can't get away from it.
Right.
And
It's almost more, it's like the same sort of attraction as when she's unbuttoning her shirt.
You're
You're
like-
like drawn to
Right.
that
Yeah.
as
It's
well.
just sort of this dark.
even more.
Sort
It's-
of.
I think
yeah.
I think that you're not compelled to come closer, but you can't get away either at this moment.
Yeah.
Where this sort of like scene closes, she kind of like looks back at you and like reaches the long knife up and just like draws the blade across her neck, and there's no blood, but like it starts to pull off as a mask.
Yeah.
Okay, I would really appreciate your help setting the scene as well, since this is our final kind of scene here. I think that
You guys have to show up at the spot.
sequentially-
Right?
Yeah,
You
I mean,
guys have to show up
We
at the
kind of
spot.
like step. We
Right.
step into the clearing where the cabin is.
And I think the first thing you hear is Ethan screaming.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this weird muffled scream that's coming from
I think
inside
that
and
kind of
underground.
like unleashes something in Gray. Like, so she hears the scream.
I think the cabin is starting to fall a little bit as well. Like that whatever is
shaking.
happening.
It's like shaking.
Yeah, it's starting
And,
to
like,
have that same sort of.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these sort of like shafts of like not light. It's basically
like-
it's still daytime, and they're just shafts of what would be light. It's almost like a negative. where
Yeah.
Negative
What
space.
would be light at night is these shafts of like darkness that are kind of piercing out.
Yeah. And I think so Gray like
Hmm.
hears this like blood curdling scream come from Ethan, and and she just jolts back into her consciousness and realizes that like where she's at, and suddenly she is as lucid as ever and not afraid. And she grabs Doug and says, "Ethan, let's go," and just bolts. And Doug kind of responds.
Yeah, he's half there. Like he's definitely not as clear as you. He's snapped into consciousness as well by your voice and by the scream, but he follows, stumbling and looking around wildly. He's lost.
Gray turns the corner and sees down the stairs, and
Like the wall kind of falls away, and now we just see.
we just see this like basement space. And kind of going back to that light conversation, there's like this intense sensation for her of just needing to negate all of this darkness that is in this space. And she's not sure how to do it, but she had like all of her like fears have somehow just melted away in this moment because she's trying to get to Ethan, to save Ethan, and she just kind of bolts forward towards the stairs, and she hits this like force, and doesn't know what to do in that moment. And she screams for Doug, "Help me, Doug, help me!"
You cannot pass now.
And you see, like, you look back at Doug, and he's got like a little, you kind of feel this light in yourself. He's got a little like ball of light that's just being like crushed. And then you look back at Ethan, and he's on the stairs, and he's also got this ball of light, but there's like a black hole in the center that's expanding out.
Gray begins to reach for Doug and try to convince him to hang on to this light. Reach for the light, Doug. Use your light. Use it now. And she tries to kind of embody the light that she holds within her and tries to expand it into Doug by reaching for his hand and grasping for him.
Oh, yeah.
So we have one die that can be wild. Is it good or bad?
It's so good.
I think we play this one as it lies.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
I think that as you sort of offer sort of some of your strength to Doug, like it gives the shadows a little bit of purchase, and like you can feel it kind of trying to
Like
smother
encroach on
you.
me. Mm-hmm.
But your name is the Dawn, and his name is Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And how does this play out? How does this continue?
As she begins to feel this kind of encroaching, she begins to fight it back, and all of those years of pent up, like, just anxiety, she's just done, and she pushes back and she screams, "No!" and grabs for Doug, and she just explodes with light. And as she explodes with light, Doug also can just feel this like warmth of energy reaching into him, and she reaches out and begins to push her way into this basement space.
Okay.
Should we go to the
I think we
aftermath?
should. Yeah, I think we should.
Let's do Aftermath.
right.
That'll clue us into
So now
where it goes.
everyone rolls their
Fuck
things.
yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Tim, you rolled some boxcars over
I
there.
rolled several boxcars. So the Aftermath table kind of gives us hints about our own montage.
Yes.
And as it turns out, my character, I think, is Vashtu now, which is kind of an interesting situation here because I ended up with 4 white dice. So white high means that my result is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yep.
It's fat times ahead, safe and secure. The thing that would make your life better? Oh, you got it. Absolutely. And then some. And then some more. Enjoy it.
All right. So for Doug, I
Man,
rolled,
you rolled
a
really
10
well.
high.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So not too shabby. You made it out with dignity and tact through some fluke. There might even be a little profit or self-respect or something. Time to throw a little party for all your friends.
Sheriff, or Deputy Sheriff, Ethan Yardley got -14.
That's black
which
high.
is, yes, black high.
It's the dark version of awesome.
Awesome! Insanely great. You will emerge not only unscathed, but if there's a girl involved, she's dropping her drawers. You might even get rich off this caper. Who knows? Time for a new ride.
So I wind up with black 1.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that
which is
ain't
horrible.
good.
You
Oh my
are
God.
probably dead.
Yeah.
Other people probably, innocent people are as well. There is no justice. There is no mercy.
Yeah.
Everything is utterly painfully screwed, and it is all of it is your fault.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So intense.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to each do one scene in our montage now that we know our aftermath.
Informed by our aftermath.
Informed by our aftermath. Yes,
And we'll
exactly.
start with Tim.
As your light reaches out and explodes, Vashtu comes over to you and says, "You have no power here anymore." And you just watch him walk away.
Doug blinks, the light fades, is gone, and Doug stands there with a clarity that he has been lacking for more than half his life, and he feels whole again. And as this sort of vision of light fades, he sees his wholeness.
As the light is penetrating the scene, Ethan's soul is consumed by Vashtu, and he becomes a follower and a servant of Vashtu. He projects any power that he may have into Vashtu's well-being, and because of his bonds with Gray, protects Vashtu from any harm that she might be able to do to Vashtu.
Between Ethan and Vashtu's darkness, the darkness begins to encroach onto Gray once more, and her light is slowly fading out of her as she grasps For Doug, she begins to fade again.
The town has a new mayor, Vince Ashtu. The town is prosperous. The townspeople grow fond of their new mayor and just watch things get better and better and better. Some people are left behind, but
Doug feels too full of light and looks down. He's still grasping Gray's hand, and he can feel him overfilling. And he can't turn off the tap and can't let go.
oh,
Ethan Yardley is now the sheriff of Linsdale, right-hand man to the new mayor of town. Ethan makes sure that any deplorables or undesirables are jettisoned from the community. But also there's whispers that he and the mayor are lovers, perhaps. It's sort of a weird rumor around town.
Gray, with the last little bit of light she has, pushes as much as she can into Doug and says, "Fight it. Fight the darkness."
after a handful of years of prosperity, Vashtu moves on to bigger things. The town falls into ruin. Like, it becomes forgotten and decrepit and soulless.
Doug is driving out of town in Gray's car, an old convertible, and he plugs a tape in. It's the same tape that was playing at the party that night, and he turns it up and smiles as the camera pulls away from him driving down the road, and you see the woods near the town on fire behind him.
Ethan, we see him as the mayor of Linsdale after Vincent has moved on. He's in a sweet Ford pickup truck that's really nice. He's got gun racks. He's wearing very fancy and rich clothes. And he just sort of smoking a cigar in the back of his pickup truck, living the life, not seeming to care one whit about the soulless and decrepit nature of his hometown.
Gray is in a psychiatric facility
Yeah.
and is in isolation as she claws at herself and screams incessantly.
Vashtu goes to visit Gray and sits down in the chair in her room as she's screaming and clawing and just smiles.
We're outside a political convention. There's big signs that say, "Vote Fiasco." Just huge banners with, like, Vincent arms crossed, "Make America light again." Bring us back to the light. All these banners. And we pan through. It's early in the day. They're doing sound tests on the stage, and we go up into the catwalks, into the rafters, and whistling the same tune that was playing in the car is Doug Witters as he loads a rifle and whistles to himself.
Ethan, we go to sort of the end of his life. He dies at very old age in bed, not really surrounded by family or friends, but he goes to his grave speaking the name of Vashtu and feeling as if he has accomplished a great deed by protecting Vashtu with his life, not really realizing the irony that those he should have protected, his friends, have all been lost to him.
As Vashtu sits smiling, as Gray screams, she gives this one final push of her light. And as she does it, she hears, "Vashtu, Vashtu, Vashtu." And suddenly she loses that final flame and is completely lost to the shadows.
With that, our story ends. We'll return again with a new tale to spin to dare to entertain. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. Ken, where can people find you?
You can find me, Ken Breeze, on Twitter and Instagram and at my own blog, berlingsbeard.com. It's Berlings. I also want to say very much a thank you to Tim Rodriguez and Tiffany Cook for coming on the show. You guys, this has been an awesome, awesome time together. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm Tiffany Cook. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tiffany E. Cook.
And I'm Tim Rodriguez, and I'm on Twitter at Dice Food Lodging, and you can find me everywhere from there.
All right, and Tim is also the designer of the Fiasco app.
It's the Fiasco Mobile App, and it's the greatest and easiest way to carry playsets around with you wherever you go. iOS, Android, and the web. Find more about that at fiascomobile.com.
We are having a contest. Recent guest and friend of the podcast, Tim Rodriguez, provided us a number of codes for his official Fiasco mobile app. To distribute these codes, we're going to crowdsource and make a listener and us generated Fiasco Play Set, a Board Ghost play set for 2016. The theme is Purgatory, sort of the way station on the way to your final reward. So basically where us board ghosts just have to hang out. Each Fiasco playset is made up of 4 tables: relationships, needs, locations, and objects. What we need your help with is filling the 6 categories in each of these tables, and in those categories, the 6 elements. So if you provide us with 1 category and the 6 elements, that's 1 contribution. If you want tips on how to come up with elements or categories or your own playsets, check out the Fiasco Companion book. It's a great resource for playing the game, teaching the game, tweaking the game experience, and leveling up your play. You can look in the show notes on our Twitter and on our website for a link, or go directly to boardghost.com/contest2016 and you will find the form. Fill out the form with your name, email, which table your category falls under, again, relationships, needs, object, location, the name of the category, and the 6 or more elements in that category. We'll take all the submissions and edit them into a complete playset. Any submissions that we use for the playset will provide those submitters, those contributors, with a code. The contest will run till November 16th. Submit as many categories with elements as you would like. We'll reach out in December to let you know if you've been selected and to verify your information. We will not use your email in any way except to communicate if you've been selected, verify whether you want an Android or iOS app, and send you the code for your app. The app is amazing, super easy to use with 40 plus playsets packed inside. You just load your Pocket with the app on your phone, get some dice, pens, index cards, and the rulebook for those tilt and aftermath tables, and you're a rolling game of Fiasco. Pick it up and run. If you want to purchase the app while the contest is still going, do it. App is awesome. We'll still give you a code so that you can give that to a friend and just draw more people into the game. Again, go to boardghost.com/contest2016 before November 16th and help us build a playset. To learn more about the players and engine in our story, please visit boardghost.com. You can attempt to pierce the veil and contact us at BoardGhostWorld on Twitter. Shout out through the ether if you have desires we can fulfill. Leave reviews and comments on iTunes, your preferred listening portal, and please take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. We'd also like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or on his band's page, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree.